Hello everyone. So today we are going to be learning about neurons and glial cells. So in your Edmodo, find the post that says neurons and glial cells. We have the link for the reading. We have my email that you can send your completed assignments to. And we have the practice questions that you need to do and turn in. So let's take a look at this. You might need to break this up into segments if you're watching this from home, because it is a lot of information. So neurons are these special cells in the nervous system. So they are nerve cells, and they transmit nerve impulses, which are the signals that are sent by the neurons through the nervous systems. All right. So the neuron structure. So here we have a neuron with all its parts labeled. So the cell body right here, this whole thing here actually, this is going to be the part of the neuron that contains the cell nucleus right here and other cell organelles. All right, so you remember an organelle is the equivalent of an organ. It's just at the cell level. So an organelle is basically like an organ to the cell. All right. The dendrites are right here. And what these do is they receive nerve impulses from other cells and carry them to the cell body. The axon right here, the axon is going to be an extension of the cell body, and it is going to carry nerve impulses away from the cell body. All right. The axon is going to branch out at the end, forming multiple axon terminals, which are these things right here. And these are points where the nerve impulses are going to be transmitted to other cells, often to dendrites of other neurons. All right. An area called a synapse is going to happen at each axon terminal. And synapses are they're places where cells transmit signals to other cells. All right. Next are the myelin sheath. So a myelin sheath is this thing. It kind of works like, so it's actually the outer part, because the inner part is the Schwann cell, which we'll get to in just a little bit. So the myelin sheath are made of lipids, and they cover the sections of the axon. So it's kind of like how you have plastic or rubber around an electrical cord to insulate it. All right. Regularly spaced gaps between these sections of myelin are called nodes of Ranvier. So they allow the transmission of nerve impulses along the axon, and nerve impulses can skip from node to node. Okay, this allows for faster travel. A Schwann cell is going to produce the myelin sheath that insulates the axons in the peripheral nervous system. All right, in the central nervous system, there's a different type of glial cell that produces myelin sheath. All right, so a little bit about the myelin sheath. This absorbs the electrical impulse, and this is kind of wrapping around this axon. But what happens is, if you take drugs, this stops being produced. Myelin stops being produced. So when you don't have a lot of myelin, you make more impulsive decisions. So you may grow chronologically, but your brain is going to stay whatever age you were when you started taking the drugs. Now, if you get off of the drugs, what happens is the myelin can still form, it just forms a lot slower, like very, very, very much slower. Okay, neurogenesis. This is basically the production of new neurons. All right. Neurons in the nervous tissues. So the nervous tissue in the brain and spinal cord is going to consist of gray matter and white matter. So gray matter is mainly non-myelinated structures such as cell bodies and dendrites. White matter is going to be axons covered in myelin sheath. So the myelin is going to give them their white color. All right, white matter also makes up the nerves of the peripheral nervous systems. Okay. So types of neurons. There are several different types of neurons in the nervous system. So we have sensory neurons. These carry nerve impulses from sensory receptors in the tissues and organs to the central nervous system. All right. Motor neurons carry nerve impulses from the central nervous system to the muscles and glands. And then in the spinal cord and brain, we have interneurons that carry nerve impulses back and forth between the sensory and motor neurons. Right? Glial cells. So nervous tissue is also going to have glial cells, and there are several different types. So glial cells, there's a table of these, and there are many different types of glial cells, and they each have different functions. All right. So in general, they're going to provide support for neurons, and they're going to help them carry out basic functions of the nervous tissue, mainly transmitting nerve impulses. All right. So hopefully that all makes sense. Make sure you finish up your assignment and turn it in to me.